Oh, it is so good to pray and worship with all of you. My name is Ms. Tondi, and I'm on staff here with Grace Kids. So, don't you love getting gifts? I mean, I know I do, and if somebody asked you today, what can I get you? What would you say? What do you want? That was a question posed to a king in our story today. But before I get to that, let's do a quick recap of where we are. We're in the time of the kings. We've learned about the first king of Israel, King Saul, and then came King David, and we learned that he wanted to build a temple for the Lord, but God said, no, I'm going to make a special promise with you instead, a covenant, that somebody from your family will always be king. And so that's what we've been learning. But now we're going to move on to the time where David is actually old. And we're going to pick it up in 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. And this is what we read. So as the time approached for David to die, he ordered his son Solomon, "Be strong and be a man, walk in God's ways and keep his statutes, commands, ordinances, and decrees. This is written in the law of Moses, so that you will have success in everything you do and wherever you turn, and so that the Lord will fulfill his promise that he made to me. If your sons take care to walk faithfully before me with all their heart and all their soul, you will never fail to have a man on the throne of Israel." David wants his son Solomon to love and obey God. And so after David dies, Solomon becomes the next king of Israel, the third king of Israel. But he's young, he's inexperienced, but he's king. We're now going to pick up the story in 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 4. So the king, Solomon, went to Gibeon to sacrifice, and he offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar there. And the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream at night. And God said, "Ask, what should I give you?" How cool is that? I mean, God comes to him and says, "Ask, what should I give you?" Solomon can ask for anything. I mean, like, what do you think? Like, oh, amazing riches. Or how about maybe he wants to live a long time. I want to live a long life. Or I want to be able to defeat all my enemies, right? I mean, what do you think? What would Solomon, what would you ask for? What will Solomon ask for? Let's keep reading. Solomon replied, "You have shown great and faithful love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness and righteousness and integrity. You have continued this great and faithful love for him by giving him a son," meaning him, "to sit on his throne. Yet I am just a youth with no experience in leadership. Your servant is among your people that you have chosen, a people too many to be numbered or counted. So give your servant a receptive heart to judge your people and to discern, to figure out what is between good and evil. For who is able to judge this great people of yours?" He gets it. He is not in a good position. Like, he can't do this job. God is pleased with what he's asked for. And listen to what God says. "Because you have requested this and did not ask for long life or riches or the death of your enemies for yourself, but you asked for discernment that you could administer justice, I will therefore do what you have asked. I will give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has never been anyone like you before and never will be again. In addition, I'm going to give you what you didn't even ask for. I will give you both riches and honor, so that no king will be your equal during your entire life. And if you walk in my ways and keep my statutes and commands, just as your father David did, I will give you long life." How good is God? He says, I want to bless you. I'm going to give you even more than what you asked for. This is what our God does. You know, Jesus, when he was living here on this earth, on the night before he died, when he's talking to his disciples, what does he tell his disciples? He says, whatever you ask in my name, I will do it, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me anything in my name, I will do it. You know, God the Father speaking to Solomon is the same as God the Son speaking to his disciples, as the triune God is speaking to us today. He is saying, ask anything. You want to be about my mission, building my kingdom here, you ask, I will do it. I mean, did you hear what Carver said? Did you hear what we're going to be about here? We are going to be praying for 40 days. We are going to be asking God to move in a way we have never seen before. That's what he's saying, ask. Now, kids, you might be going, oh, yeah, that's for the adults. No, you can pray. You are really, really, really good at asking. I know you know how to ask, right? So when we're praying on these Zoom calls, wouldn't it be cool if we maxed out Zoom, that we had 1,000 people, 500 kids, 500 adults, all praying, saying, God, would you send your kingdom come? That's what God wants to do. So to wrap up our time, we're going to remember who we are, what God's called us to do. We're memorizing 1 Peter 2, right? So we're going to say this together so we don't forget. We're going to say verse 9 that we've been learning, that we've already learned, hopefully. And then we're going to say verse 10. But we're going to say it all together out loud so we don't forget who we are, what we're about. So let's say it. Whether you're at home too, say it out loud. Ready? But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own possession, that you may proclaim his excellencies, or that who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were not a people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy.